Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tearing It Up podcast. Today, we have a lovely guest that I actually have met in person a couple of times through Outdoor Media Summit. So it was awesome when I saw her email come through in my inbox and I put that connection together. Like, oh my God, yes, we have met and we've chatted, and it's finally like reconnecting now on the podcast. And when I did meet her at Outdoor Media Summit, I had only learned like a tiny bit about her, like what she does as a writer and whatnot. So we chatted a little bit more. I'm excited, though, to hear more of kinda how she built everything that she's doing. Again, just one of those stories where Lauren went after doing what she wanted to do and build something herself, found a way for it to work for her, and that's the point of all these stories, is that I know we'll reach somebody out there who is wanting to build something of their own and figure out if it's even possible or how it's possible, especially for any of you mothers out there, or, wanting to be, soon to be, whatever that is. I think this could be some good encouragement to know that, like, it is possible, even being a mom, though it is hard. But she has one of my favorite parenting hacks I think I've heard with a gym, so I can't wait for her to share that too, especially for all of you who are, like, in a bigger city and actually have, some of these kinda, like, Globo gyms in your area. But I am gonna turn it over to Lauren now. First off, Lauren, where are you in the world as we record today?
So I am in Detroit, Michigan. I am based out of Michigan my whole life. Went to college in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but have mostly been based in the Detroit area my entire career.
Awesome, and as you actually record right now, you're not at home. Tell the people where you are.
So I decided to come work at the Detroit Institute of Arts today. It's super cool. My local millage like approved funding for this art museum, so I get in for free as a resident of that county. So sometimes I like to work in different spots. And right now I'm in this beautiful courtyard with a glass ceiling. So I get lots of natural light and it feels fancy, even though I didn't pay to get in here at all. I mean, my taxes did, but I
Yeah.
today did not. Um, and it's super fun. I try to Thursdays. I don't know what day this comes out, but today is Thursday when we're talking. My mother-in-law graciously takes my toddler so I can get a large chunk of work time in. And I try to tell myself, because we mothers struggle with this, that it's okay not to just go work. You can go work somewhere fun. You can
Mm.
take a break and go do something fun. So after this podcast, I'm going to go sketch in the gallery because it's something for me. And I'm super stoked about it.
I love that. That is such a good reminder because, yeah, I'm not a mom, and but I know how many women feel that guilt. Amber, my friend who helps co-host from time to time, is a mom, and I know that she has definitely dealt with that mom guilt. I think all of us women have just heard about it too, especially at, the age that many of us here on the podcast or listening to the podcast are, like, having friends at least that are moms and hearing, and, like, yeah, just because you have that childcare doesn't mean you have to just go be 1000%, like, productive. Like, "Alright, now I gotta go,
Yeah,
deep clean my house or do this and that." Like, go to the gym, go to a yoga class, go for a walk, go for brunch with your gals, like, do whatever it is that, yeah, that reset that you need that time away, and but I think it can be super hard even when you're not a mom and you have this time, though, that you can really dedicate and focus to work or whatever, and it feels really hard to not take that time when you're just, like, an overly productive person, right? To be
right,
like, "Okay, I have this time that I really I have no other obligations today, whatever, and I've carved out this time to do this work," and then sometimes, especially in, like, what we do, kind of being in the more creative world, um, you may not have that inspiration then either, so you're like, "Oh, here I go, carved out this time, and now I actually am not in any kind of flow. I can't get the ideas out, the thoughts out," and we just sit there still, though, and try and force it, and then there goes the whole day where you're like, "Wow, I actually got nothing done, but I could've maybe been a little more productive for my brain," gotten
right.
outside, done whatever, and then all of a sudden that, like, those ideas or the flow or whatever come, and yeah, it's hard, really hard being in that creative area to try to put out focused time when you're like, "I
Oh,
don't
for
know
sure.
if I can't really say if Monday is gonna be the day that I come up with all my ideas."
Well, that's the thing too is balancing, like, I'm a very athletic person, and I usually will go to the climbing gym too, or try to go to the climbing gym. They have a little community area so I can, like, work and then take what I call a Boulder break, which is super fun. Um, but I have my husband is on a work trip, so I've been solo parenting, and the small human has needed me in the middle of the night, and I'm like, my body is actually not wanting to climb today.
Yeah,
Like, let's go do something else."
it's hard. I think, like I said, overall, moms are not learning how to really, like, listen to that and not force it. I feel like I'm finally coming into a season where I'm doing that without, like, guilt. I've been in the forced phases of it, of, like, rest and recover or whatnot, but where I don't, like I said, here's the time for the gym. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna push hard and do this and that. It's like, well, that's just not what my body needs, but it's so fucking hard, especially if you are someone who is like an athletic or active person and you actually want to do that, right? You're like, I want to push myself. Want a hard workout, but my body is not in the same place as my
Yeah,
mind. It's like a never-ending battle of how do you get these two to talk to each other and how do you figure out sometimes like what who's telling the truth, you know? Like,
right.
is it my
Yeah, like,
mind
my
or my
body
body? Yeah, like, is this an
yeah, like, my
excuse
mind
or
today
yeah,
my mind today was like, "I want to climb," but my body was like, we need yoga." Like,
yeah, it's a really hard balance for sure, and that's super cool that you're working in that art museum, and I think that I definitely haven't thought of too many different places to work other than just, like, the coffee shops. The one of the gyms in town does have a area to work, and I've been there before. I don't have a current membership there, but I was like, "That is a plus to maybe going back to that one so I can maybe go, start working, and then once I need that break, that movement break, there everything is at my leisure. Like, do I wanna go lift weights? Do I wanna ride the bike, go on the treadmill, whatever it is, and then get back to work or something. So, it's pretty cool that there are these different areas to just get out of the house, and sometimes that's all you need, to get a little creative spark going. But speaking of all that and you being able to even, like, kinda choose where you're working, at least sometimes, let's dive in a bit about what it is you actually do, and how you got started, and so if you wanna start off with, like, what your, I guess, kind of, like, "title," quote, unquote, is and what your business is.
so title is funny because people are like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Creative things," because title is like a really there's so many facets. So currently, my business is made up of 2 different facets. So I do writing for the outdoor industry, so gear reviews, I've written for REI, I've written for Gear Junkie, I've written articles specifically about families getting outside. So I've been a ski instructor for a decade, so I've done articles there like expectations to have when skiing with a toddler, those types of things. And then the other half of my business is I help small outdoor companies, outdoor-based companies with marketing. So I do their social media, email marketing, those types of things, as well as helping them find events that are good for them to go to um, do some in-person kind of networking marketing stuff. So all of that kind of combined becomes what I do, which is under my business umbrella of Lauren Loria Creative.
That's awesome. It sounds right up my alley for sure, and what I am kinda doing right now as well. Um, how did you before we get into kind of the business aspects, like, tell us about how the outdoors and that got into your life in the first place. You mentioned you're very active, you climb, and has this been something, like, since you were young? Because I'll tell you, before I knew anything about Michigan, I didn't think of it as, like, really being on the map for, like, so many outdoorsy people and things, but as I've been more in the industry, I've met so many people from Michigan, and I'm like, there's so much happening there in the outdoor industry that I didn't think beforehand. So, yeah,
Yeah.
tell us a bit about, like, kinda growing up and with the outdoors or where that these activities came into your life.
S So my family has always been skiers. I grew up skiing a lot. But we weren't any more like it wasn't like any more other more traditional outdoor stuff. So like we weren't really hikers, we were backpackers or anything like that growing up. But once I got to college, I kind of like tiptoed into the industry or into the outdoor area. My college I went to started off first with you could go on like this backpacking retreat the first weekend ever at college. And my thought was, this sounds cool because I need to make friends. And spending a weekend with people sounds like a great way to make friends. So I did that and I loved it. That was on the Manitou Islands in northern Michigan. So um, I know the audience cannot see my hand, but there's this nice Michigan thumb. It's on the opposite side of the thumb in the northwest corner of the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. There's these 2 islands that are backpacking only. There's no cars on them. You literally take a ferry to them, so it's super isolated, but it's super pretty because it's right on the lake. Um, so yeah, that was my first like tiptoe into like what I would call farther into the outdoor industry. And then I graduated college and I started freelancing and realized like at that time I needed a supplemental income. It wasn't working to just do freelance. And so I was like, I want to learn more about rock climbing, but I sure as heck cannot afford to join a gym and everything right now.
Mhm.
So I actually started working at the teeny tiny walls at the Lifetime Fitnesses. A lot of Lifetime Fitnesses have walls, and because they're such small walls and they usually just need people to staff them, my lack of experience, other than my like couple times at my college wall, wasn't a big deal. And then I called graduated to working at the climbing only gym in my area, and I've kind of just taken it all from there. I really started focusing my business on the outdoor industry when I realized that I didn't wanna do anything else. Like, I was kind of doing a little bit of everything. I was like I mean, right after you graduate college, especially as a freelancer, I'm like, "Whoever will pay me, I don't care." Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
my degree is in photography, and so for a while I was doing weddings, and weddings are beautiful and lovely and wonderful, and especially if you know the people. For me, I didn't want my every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every summer weekend being filled with weddings. And also sometimes, wedding traditions are beautiful, but they are the same thing over and over again. And as a creative person, it just felt like the same photo over and over again. Obviously, each couple is unique and special, but like I just couldn't do it. It was just not my gig. And I was like, I need to pivot and figure this out. And I really did a lot of photography. And then 2020 hit. And obviously, no one was getting together for photo shoots at all. And so I pivoted to doing some writing, and it's kind of taken off from there.
There is definitely a few things there that I wanna dig into, and I'm gonna start hopefully I don't really forget, but because I
I know it
always
was
wanna
a
start
lot.
with the most recent. Yeah, but I'm gonna start at actually the beginning well, in college. One thing I definitely wanna say is I remember being, like, in my 20s and getting more into like, I always felt outdoorsy. We did stuff outdoors, like, camped and fished and whatever, but when I got older, we stopped doing that so much. We were in high school and whatever, and then in after college, when I went and actually was, like, backpacking and doing more things, I remember thinking like, "Oh, man, I'm, like, so late to this game," because my family definitely wasn't into, like, expensive gear or anything either, so I was like, "Oh, wow, looking back, yeah, I totally was, like, not prepared for some of these hikes and things that I went on and did this and that and just didn't know any better," and started digging in, and I didn't feel like I was super, super behind the game, but when you get deeper into the industry and then we're hearing stories of people who've, been doing this since they were a child or this, that, and the other, you definitely get those feelings. And I feel like that more towards, I guess, specific sports like skiing and snowboarding or mountain biking that you're like, wow, I didn't start till my 20s. That's super late. But I'm like, more and more stories that I tell and hear are generally getting started like in college, after college, because that's when you have the choice, right? When you are out on your own and kinda discovering what you like. we have to remember that when we're a kid, we're at the mercy mostly of, like, our parents or of whoever is raising us and what's accessible. So we can't always just like, "Oh, I wanna do this, so I'm gonna go." Like, we have our own ways to make money, which a lot of these activities, it costs something, whether it's hiking shoes, a backpack, or whatever, the bike, the skis, anything like that, so it is absolutely way more normal to not get started until your 20s on this stuff, um, and so I just wanna point that out to anyone out there who might be in that kinda younger age too, like, if you're just getting started, like, you're not late, and also, even if you are in your 30s, 40s, whatever, it's still not, like, too late.
No, I had a lot of imposter syndrome for a while about that specifically. So I felt like at a big disadvantage because I hadn't done like these big mountaineering trips or whatever. But we always have to remember, especially if someone lives in an area like that, that's like the 1% of people. When I started getting into the industry, I started meeting people who grew up in Colorado, who grew up in Utah, who had done all of this stuff since they were kids. And, obviously the mountains are very accessible there. I affectionately call Michigan the land of the flat, at least in the lower peninsula. We're quite flat. Um, and I mean that with love, but it is true. To get to the nearest like true climbing, I have to drive like either 3 hours into Canada or 7 hours to the Red River Gorge in Kentucky. And it's I have no regrets living here or anything because this is where my family is, and there's a lot of paddling. I actually end up doing a lot of kayaking. So there's a lot of waterways, obviously, around the Great Lakes and stuff. But that was a big mental hurdle to get over the imposter syndrome. But I found out that, like, there are people that write those like big epic trip reports, but there isn't necessarily, and obviously people love to read those as an aspirational piece, but like we also need those practical writings of like, how do I take my toddler camping? Because this sounds exhausting. Because they're going to unzip the tent and try to get out. How do I fit, like, just all of these things that are like, you know, practical, especially if someone hasn't done it before but wants to bring their kid more outdoors or, just get outdoors more themselves. Like I wrote a piece about getting started snow skiing as an adult. Um, these are all needed. And sometimes I had to remind myself that. Even though I'm not, writing about the latest crampon and testing it on the biggest mountain ever, like, it's okay.
Yeah, I think that kinda goes back to what we were saying earlier with, like, the guilt or balance and things like that is we don't have to know everything or be the expert in it to be able to talk about it, and, like, yeah, that imposter syndrome that was became a huge word and term in the last, like, few years, and I feel like it's still definitely there and exists for a lot of people. There's plenty of times I question, like, things that I do and have done for years, and I'm like, "But wait, this person knows more than me or does this more than I do," or something, and yeah, it's just, like, those mental hurdles that for some reason we go into these tailspins and let us, like, hold us back, and, like, the other day, I actually posted on LinkedIn because I was like, um, "Advice I'm taking from now on." My own, because I was like, not to say that I'm not trying to say I know everything, I know best. I'm 1000% willing to and wanting to learn more and listen to other people who have more experience than I do in certain aspects or different experience, but what I really meant was, like, I have to trust myself more in so many different areas that I know what I'm fucking doing, like, so why and when I can tell other people so often, whether it's friends or, like, in my personal training world, clients of, like, when I'm talking to them, sometimes I have, like, an out of body experience when I'm explaining movement or something to them and the why or how and this, I'm like, "Wow, look at me go, like, I do know my shit," like,
Yeah.
so as I'm sitting here having a great time with this client and talking her through this and feeling so good and confident, why, when I'm not with her, do I, like, question, like, things and, like, "Should I be doing this? Do I know enough? Do I need to do this, that, and the other?" And yeah, there's just so many times that happens, so it was just, like, having that trust in yourself that there's a place, I guess, for you too, because like you said, it doesn't always have to be this extreme gear testing, but the practical stuff, and I'm not, the most extreme mountain biker, but I still know enough to get beginners out there to help people, and just because I'm not the fastest either doesn't mean I don't know, like, what to do in certain situations. So I'm like, "Why, yeah, am I not talking about these things with more, like, I don't think authority isn't quite the term I'm looking for, but, like, the confidence, I guess."
Mhm.
And,
For sure.
yeah, so just really trying to get back to that place of finding that, so yeah, being that, like, we know starting in our 20s later, we can go through all these, we could start even younger and have years and years and years of experience and still go through these feelings. So you're not alone if you if you go through that and have these questionable thoughts. I think that's just the way our brains work, never, or at times I guess thinking we're not enough or we don't know enough and we have to be the best, especially as women in the society in a lot of ways that we grew up thinking that there's only room for so many, right? But that's not true. That we can reach so many different people. And I had this conversation recently with Kristen, a femme cyclist, talking about, some markets are a little more saturated than they were, but that doesn't mean you won't find your people. There's so many people in this world and we're not all for everybody, right? So there is room for us all. And we just have to remember that. But what if you don't mind, this kind of references age, but just to get an idea, because you said you started freelancing right after college, and I don't think a lot of people go that route right after college. Maybe these days, as remote working obviously has become a lot more popular in the last 6 years, and there's a lot more opportunity. And I feel like, at least in the free or in the outdoor industry, I'm seeing a lot of like freelancers, people leaving brands and going and doing that and whatnot, and I think it's gonna have another huge uptick. But when I was in college, I definitely don't think there was that many people, maybe freelance, like, journalists, but tell us a little bit, I guess, about what that landscape looked like when you graduated and how you came to even choose that path right out of school.
Yeah, so it's definitely more common in the photo world to be a freelancer
Mhm, mhm,
and to
mhm.
have your own company. Um, Only the really big companies have their own in-house photography team. It's kind of rare. Huge, huge companies will have it. There are also like creative houses that will be marketing agencies and have their own photo studio that hire people full time. Um, I did apply, like, for example, like Whirlpool, the people that make washing machines, have a photography internship that I interviewed for, didn't get it, but not a big deal. And it was just one of those, it was, I I knew I wanted to do things on my terms. And a couple things in my life kind of fell into place to facilitate that. One was I have a very reliable partner, which I'm very blessed for. My husband and I met really young. So we were 17 when we met, and then we got married when we were 22, right after college. Like super babies. I look back at the pictures of like, wow, we were babies. And that, yeah, exactly. But like no regrets. Like it's amazing. He's my best friend. Like the thing that helped, like my partner had a stable income. So like if I didn't get a gig, we would not pay rent the next week. I also worked part-time at a photo print shop to help fill that income gap in, and also he had health insurance. So that, like, especially here in the US where health insurance is attached to employment,
Mhm.
um, that was a big one. So a lot of the freelance buildup can be really hard for people because there's that getting leads takes time, right? Getting regular gigs takes time. And if you either don't bank a bunch of money before you let go of a regular job or have a partner that can help float it or whatever it is, that's the really tough part of freelancing. I mean, there's a lot of tough parts of freelancing, but that's a big one for sure.
I kind of forgot, I guess, that you went straight into photography first, so that makes a lot more sense for sure of, like, going straight. into that from college, but as you mentioned, even so, even if you're in an industry that it is more common to freelance, it is not easy, like, you had a partner and, who had some stability there, and insurance, again, being huge, plus part-time jobs, working elsewhere to kinda cover those gaps. I mean, that takes that's still what it takes to become a freelancer if, like you said,
Yeah.
you're not leaving a job where you had security and a nest egg, and that's still very stressful during that time that you're just, like, maybe not having consistent income and just taking from your savings or whatever it is, and then plus insurance and taxes and all these different things coming out of your funds in ways that you maybe didn't notice before because they're coming out of your check and you're not looking at that number that's going into your account and then seeing it leave. So,
Well, and
yeah.
that's the thing too is like at one point I did actually quit the photo studio, not photo studio, excuse me, the print studio that I was working at because it was starting to interfere with some freelance gigs I could get.
Mhm.
And so on days that I didn't do that, I was a substitute teacher. I substitute taught elementary school. Like you can do that with 60 college credit hours. And my parents are both teachers, so I know enough to hold the fort down for a day.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
totally.
if you asked me to long term sub, I'd be like, absolutely not. But like I can hold it down for a day. I can make sure everybody stays alive and
Yes.
hydrated and learn something. Um, but like that flexibility, because you just pick up gigs of subbing on the
Mhm.
days I didn't have freelance gigs. And, you know, on the prep hours, I would do my freelance work on the laptop when the whole classroom of kids was at gym or whatever. Like it was just this cobbling together, Tetrising of income jobs.
And that's exactly where I am currently and kind of always have been, except for maybe, like, with the exception of, like, a year of my life where I had one full-time salaried job, which I am like, yeah, definitely kind of wanting to go back that direction for a little bit because the cobbling gets exhausting. It's like it's fun. I mean, my brain always switches anyways. I kinda need that in a way, where I can't do one tedious task forever. Like, it's for and, some people are wired, like, a lot differently. I need to do something else, but like I said, it sometimes you get too much or they're too far apart from each other, these things that you're putting together that one can just be so, so, so draining that it's taking your energy for the other things, right? So finding the things that you can piece together that all work together in a way to build whatever that is that you're going after, and that's really tough to do, especially, like, this day and age with just the job landscape and whatnot. Subbing actually is something I was looking into kind of more recently. I haven't checked back in a while, but also I live in a small place where there are not that many schools anyways. I'm not in a big city where I'm like, "Okay, there's literally 10 high schools in a 15-mile radius and
Yeah.
elementary schools and middle schools or whatever. There's one of each." And, like,
Right.
so
Yeah, that's a little
n
harder.
yeah, not many options, but, I hadn't thought about it in like, for years and years and years before this season, and I coach at that for the high school wrestling team, and I was like, "Oh, well, I should look and see if there are, like, some sub positions and see what that's like, kinda working in the school and for the school where the school day's over at whatever, 2:30, and then I'm just there and I go straight to practice, like, that could be interesting, so I started to kinda look into it, but, yeah, there weren't any opportunities at the time, but it's something to keep in mind because, as you mentioned, I'm like, "For a day, 100% I can keep these kids alive."
Right.
Like, if we're not having to go over, like, a certain curriculum or learning plan, yeah, great, which for the most part, in those one-day subs that someone got sick, you're doing nothing anyways. We all remember what it was like to have a substitute teacher, and you're like, "Hell yeah, we're not doing shit today."
I had a sweet spot though. Like there was like 2nd to like 5th grade was my sweet spot. Anything
Mm,
younger, they were all very needy, very cute, but
yeah.
very needy. And then anything older, they got like sassy. And I was like, no, thank you. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
I think that's huge finding that, and since I already deal with high schoolers, I feel like Like, I coulda done middle school to high school, but for me, not elementary. Like, I don't think I could do 5th grade and younger, but I think I could handle the middle school, high school, because just the way that my humor is or, anyways, is just, like, talking to them like real humans. I do that to my niece and nephew all the
Oh,
time. I'm
yeah.
like, "We're just having a regular adult conversation here." Like
Well, and that's the thing, at the time I was 22, so I was like, "I'm actually close enough to be your siblings' ages,"
Yeah,
and I was like, "This is too close." I was like, "I cannot
yeah.
go be a sub for 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds being 22." Like, I'm like, "This doesn't work." Like
No, and that's so funny because, when I was that age and thinking back of and remembering when I had, student teachers who were that age, and when you're in elementary school, you're like, "Oh my god, you're 22, that's so old." And then being 22 and you're like, "Oh my god, like, I'm barely out of school, I feel like."
Right.
Like
The reality is we all look like we know what we're doing to children, but
yeah,
none of us actually know what we're doing. We're
mhm.
just faking it really
Look, that's still to us in general and what we have to remind each other of, especially with certain social medias or whatever you follow, right? Because you think that so and so over here has it figured out, started her own business, and is just thriving and probably is doing well, but we have to remember all the work that goes into it that we don't see or how much time it took to even get to that point, and what happened beforehand to get them there. It's something I really have to remind myself of with some things I see is like, okay, I've been chipping out this for so long and like it's not where I want it to be or something. And like so and so is over here, but it's like, first of all, can't compare totally different stories and things and all that. And even if that particular business that person is doing hasn't been around for very long, that doesn't mean that the years before that in life, like, didn't work towards it, you know? It's like, yeah, that might have
yeah.
been a
There's always steps.
mhm, exactly, that lead into it, and it's hard to remember, like, okay, yeah, just because their, like, new business popped up and went off, 'cause it doesn't discount the decade before that they were doing work for other people or themselves that led them to this place for that to pop up and exist, so yeah, so, the typical reminders think we all hear all the time, but as you all know, if you've been listening for a while, a lot of these conversations and things I say are for myself, hence that LinkedIn post, right? Like, taking my own advice. Like, we all need to do it. We all can give so much better advice to other people, and often it comes because we have that real experience, right? Or we've gone through that problem or going through that problem, so it is like telling ourselves, "This is how we should work through this." Like, why is it so much harder for us to implement ourselves? But anyhow, freelancing, weddings, I know some wedding photographers too, and I know how much energy that they all say that that takes out of them, and they've had to set some pretty hard boundaries as they got, like, made their way in the world and business of how many weddings they can actually do if they're not just a wedding photographer, but do specialize in them. That, "Okay, I can only do X amount of weddings because it takes so much time and energy and demand that I have to have space for other projects and things and just my mental, like,
Yeah, mental
uh"
sanity.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So that is just a very hard industry to be in as a photographer, so I can understand where you were coming from and wanting to kinda switch gears and stepping into something different. Did you, from the get-go, once you started to veer into the outdoor industry and start writing and whatnot, were you freelance out of the gate with that, or did you ever work for a company doing social media? How did you kind of make your way into that world as a freelancer, starting a
Yeah.
new path or industry?
So I was definitely freelance out of the gate, um, just because I was also still working at the climbing gym, and stuff like that. And one of the things I also do is I'm the high school youth minister at my church, so that's part-time and flexible schedule, so I can do that. Like you said, there's so many Tetris things that are coupling together to make my one whole career. But as freelance right out of the gate, but I think my path for that was like 2020 happened. You know, I'd been working on connecting with editors and brands to see if they would. One of the hard things about living in Michigan for the industry is, you know, I'm a good photographer, but there are also good photographers who live out west. And if they don't have to pay to fly me, they're going to take the cheaper option, which I get. I totally understand that. So trying to figure that out was hard. And then when I realized there was something I could do from my location, like the writing, and my photography degree was not an arts background. Actually, the college I went to, it was a communications degree. So I have a bachelor's of science in or excuse me, bachelor of arts in communications with a
Oh, I
concentration
love
in
that. That feels
photography.
like a loophole in a way of like, wait, photography was under the communications category?
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
one of
That
the
I mean, it
reasons
just
I
looks
chose
so
that school.
different on a resume.
Yeah,
Y yeah.
like as much as I, love, 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 love the fine arts, having a bachelor's of science in communications, I was able to then also do a minor in advertising and public relations and marry all these skills for something that's a little more marketable.
Mhm, mhm.
And so doing freelance for the writing right out of the get-go was great because I'd already had that background from my minor and I could do it from home. And honestly, the biggest connection I started having with the industry, other than just doing like, you know, the base camp outdoor industry jobs group or whatever, was when I went to OMS, that outdoor media summit. I found it online. Like I was like searching for conferences to like scrounge together the money to go to. And, at the time I was like, oh, this seems cool. I should go meet people here. And I did. And it was like the year they had it in Lake Tahoe. And it was like one of the best conferences I've ever been to. Like, I was
Mhm.
like, these are my people. Like, it just solidified for me that, like, these are my people.
That was my first one too, and I think is well, I've been to 3 now, and I don't know if we met at that one or if it was the second one I
Yeah.
went to. I know we
So,
talked at this last one in, uh where were we?
Durango.
Yeah, it was Montana the year before.
Yeah.
Like,
Missoula the year before and Idaho the year before
y
that.
I didn't go to Idaho, so I skipped a year, but, so yeah, I don't remember if it was the Lake Tahoe one or Montana, but I felt the most inspired at the Lake Tahoe one for sure.
Yeah.
But
The Idaho one was actually what I'm calling my crazy year because my daughter was 7 months old. My husband came, and I was nursing at the time, and I knew being gone a week, that would be really hard. So they both came, and I was literally, like, in the back of sessions nursing my daughter.
oh my gosh, that's awesome, and that's a perfect kinda segue into what I wanted to talk about was you've got a lot of balls in the air. You are doing a bunch of different things, like you said, to make a, like, career. One, I love too that again, for me and how it might look to some people of what I put together is like, "Wow, none of those things have a through line here. They're very different." But, uh, um, I I've connected, like, my marketing, the podcast, and my personal training all through one umbrella of, like, yeah, the actual point is, like, giving it confidence to women to find their, like, strength and courage, through the storytelling, strength training, and then with marketing, that's what I'm doing for brands is, like, finding that storytelling, that confidence telling their story, but anyways, yeah, you're doing a bunch of different things as well, connecting them in a way that's creating this life for you to explore all these different things you're interested in. Then you throw a baby in the mix. So,
Was a little
it's like
crazy, not gonna lie.
yeah. And so talk to us a bit about what that looks like for you kind of on the day to day, or even if you're comfortable with it, were you ever at the point of if we have a child now, is there something that I will have to give up? Or was that a conversation you and your partner were able to have of like, "I can still do all these things, and have a baby," or what was that like? Because I think there's a lot of women out there still that maybe in that kinda decision making of how will I keep doing the things that I want to do and be able to
Yes.
be a mom?
So that's been really it's constantly a balance. So I she does not go to daycare simply because the money that daycare costs basically would negate any work that I do. I mean, not any, but like a lot of work that I do. Um, so one of the things that we've done is joined Lifetime Fitness, the gym that I worked at, the very first gym that I talked about that I worked at. Um, so we're members there and they can have your child in their kid center for 2.5 hours a day. That you can't leave the building because the whole point is you're supposed to like work out and shower and sit in the hot tub or whatever. There is a cafe there, and I literally will put her in there and then sit in that cafe for 2.5 hours and work. So that's how I get that done. Sorry, it just got really loud. There's a field trip behind me. Um, a field trip of many children are walking over there.
Well,
Um,
what timeliness, right,
right.
of the point
Yeah.
in the
So if
conversation
you hear
talking
lots of
about
talking, that's
Yeah.
why. But yeah, so that's 2.5 hours a day there. She just is about to turn 3, so she's not napping anymore. So there goes my 2 hours in the afternoon that I used to get when she
Mm,
napped. So we're figuring that out. She does go to my mother-in-law's once a week on Thursdays and during the day. So that's super helpful because then I have a longer chunk of work time because I feel like 2.5 hours, sometimes you get in the zone and then you're like, shoot, my time's up. Um, it's a lot of squeezing the work in here, there, and everywhere. And I will be sad when she goes to school, but I'll also be like, okay, I can just work and then parent instead of trying to like
mhm.
do both at the same time. I mean, obviously, when you're a parent, you're always parenting, but like it's very different, obviously, when they're not directly in your presence. Um, so it's been really fun because then we can do things like go to the zoo on a Tuesday morning and it's not super crowded like it is on Saturday mornings. Or I have another friend that has twins that's super outdoorsy, that's the same age. Their twins are the same age as my daughter. And we get the kids together to be outside together all the time. Like just that flexibility is worth the craziness. But it's definitely like piecemealing it
Well,
together and figuring it out.
and like you said, there's only a short amount of time in the grand scheme where you have to really, really I mean, okay, I can't say that you always have to juggle, right? But what I'm getting at is when they get into school full time and you do have a little bit more, like through these hours that you can maybe do a little more than be
Right.
just hands-on the whole time depending on what your work situation is, whole home life situation is, and of course there's sick days and everything like that too that you have to throw in the mix. But recently, a gal I know, went back to work after having a baby, not too long after having her baby, but then realized like, well, I don't have that much now. I'm missing a lot, and I've realized that, and this time is so short that I think I do wanna be home more with the child while I can and figure something else out than the full-time job, and 'cause we obviously know not everyone has the ability to do that or to freelance and have a little more flexibility with where or when you're working and whatnot, so we know it's impossible for some in at certain
Right.
phases and seasons of life and whatnot, so I just wanna know if you're in that, like,
Yeah.
hearts out to you. We know it's not just like, "Oh, this is how you do it," kind of thing, but
Yeah.
we understand everything is a balance too, and trying to, yeah, figure out how you do it all or also, like, find your people, and so I'm gonna send you this through the chat, but we've had a gal named Julie Bacon on the podcast who created the Mothership Collective, and it's been so cool to see that grow because it's just gone blown up in the for, like, adventurous women and finding people, there's people in all across the country kind of wanting to start, like, meetups of it and finding other moms to do the things with because being able when you're an outdoorsy or athletic person and you wanna go do that with your kids, but maybe your friends don't have the kids or the kids are different ages, it makes it harder to manage, and so how do you find your people in that? And I think we've struggled through that, kids or not, of, like, how do I find the people who are doing the thing that I want to do when I can do it?
So, my biggest thing, honestly, has been staying connected to the climbing gym. So, I used to work there a lot more. I still work there very part time. Down in Detroit, shout out to them. They have been very gracious to keep me on to just like teach sleep lessons once a month. So I can still stay like entrenched in the community. That's not typical. Obviously, most people have to work X amount of hours a week or whatever. But once I had a kiddo, they were like, cool. Like, I'm like, listen, I've been working in the industry for almost a decade. I'd love to keep that knowledge, giving that knowledge to you guys and our customers. I just can't give the desk shift hours. The
Mhm.
desk shifts are great, but like the babysitter to desk shift wage ratio just doesn't make sense kind of thing.
It's,
And
probably an even trade, if not you're losing.
mhm, exactly. And I don't have that set of grandparents that's gonna watch the kid 3 days a week kind of thing, which is fine. They're retired. They deserve to do their retired thing.
Mhm.
They're more than happy to help out, every other week when I'm like, hey, I have a meeting. Can you do this? That's great. But it's just doesn't make sense. So I've been able to stay connected to the gym, and that's how I met the mom that has the twins. So her husband does route setting part-time at the gym in addition to his full-time job, and it was quite funny actually. Him and I had been like when we'd see each other, we'd talk about, "Oh, how are the babies? Are they sleeping? Are you sleeping?" The whole parent talk during that first year roller coaster when they kids change every 5 seconds and you think you have a routine and then something changes again.
Yeah.
And for some reason, during this whole time, he had never told his wife that I had also had a kid at the same time. Like, somehow that
Men.
never got right. Yeah, I was like, "I hate to say it, that's very much a guy thing."
Yeah.
Like, he just didn't tell her. And her and I had not been friends before. Like, we had known each other's existence kind of thing, but not like we never hung out outside just, like, seeing each other at the gym. And then we happened to see each other at a library story hour. We had brought our kids to the same library story hour. And I was like, "Hey, aren't you so and so?" And like, so and so's wife, blah blah blah. And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, she's like, "Wait, you have a baby the same age as our babies?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been talking to him about it for months now." And she's like, "What?" Like, so long story short is now we're besties and take
I
our
love
kids out
it.
together. And we've even planned next month we have a mom's only climbing trip coming and a mom's only backpacking trip in May. And I am stoked. So
That's
stoked.
amazing, that's amazing, and yeah, staying I think that can obviously be one of the hardest parts, I'm sure, of staying connected to what you're a part of beforehand, like, after you have kids, because obviously a lot of your time is now taken up or things have changed, but trying, I guess, as hard as you can to
Yeah,
do that, especially if it is something that is, more community connected like that, where that's how you can meet other people. Because even when, like, our people our age talk about, like, dating, and, like, how do I meet someone, right? Because in our 20s, we were just, like, going out or whatever, or
right.
meeting people, and now you're like, "Yeah, so as a, like, full-grown adult who's not going to the freaking, like, bars, like,
Right. How do I do
how
this?
do yeah, how do I meet someone?" And that's where enter, obviously, like, dating apps, and I think Bumble even started as a friendship app.
Yeah,
It like
friendship app.
yeah,
Right.
wasn't it like, "Find your new best friend?" And now, of course, is, I believe, on the dating as well, so but that being said, the point is that it started as a friend app because people were like, "How do I find people to hang out with?" Because even if I'm going to the
Well,
climbing gym alone, what do I do? Just talk to that random girl who's standing there alone and say, "Hi." There's been a trend going on, social media of reels of how if you were a kid, like, how you would meet friends as an adult, and it's just, like, adults, like, riding their bikes over and, yeah, just randomly talking to someone like, "Hi, what's your favorite color?" Like, "Do you wanna go on a bike ride with me?"
it's like Buddy the Elf. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite
Yeah,
color?
exactly, exactly, and I'm like, "That is so funny," and yeah, like, But, of course, we're not doing that, so
Right. I
but
know
maybe
I've
we
said
should.
this so many times. 2 things, I mean, I'm kind of obsessed with climbing, so sorry, not sorry. Um, like, I don't know how unless you're, like, either involved in a church community like I have been for a long time, so the church that I work at is the same church I grew up in, or climbing, I don't know how you make friends because
Uh-huh.
bouldering is pretty like, I don't know how often you climb, but bouldering is kind of like, oh, you can tell like someone else is working on the same problem as you. Then you start talking about the problem and then you ask their name. And then, like slowly, like, oh, what days do you come? Oh, I come on Wednesdays. Oh, me too. Let's climb again together next Wednesday. And like slowly but surely you just become friends. Like when my cousin, he graduated college and had to move to Florida and he knew nobody. And I was like, I know you're broke right now because you just graduated college and haven't like gotten a paycheck from your big boy job yet. But here is some money, and this is for 2-day passes to the local climbing gym. This is the only thing you're allowed to use it for. Like, go make some friends. Like, I call him my little cousin.
Yeah,
I realize he's like 27, but in my head, he will always be my little cousin.
absolutely, absolutely, I get that. Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of us maybe as we're older get a little more introverted too, where you're like, "Well, I'm pretty comfortable." You start to question, like, "Do I really need more friends?" Because I do have my 3 friends and,
And they seem
I'm
to be
pretty
working out.
busy. So, like and then, like, all of a sudden you find yourself all the time like, "What the fuck? I have no friends. I need someone to hang out with." And it's like, "Oh, yeah, so I do need to start talking to people," but I'm like, "But then what if they start to ask to hang out, and I'm busy, and I can't, and I just have to say no all the time, so I'm not
And
even gonna bother." It's like, "Oh my god, no."
I feel like adult friendships also miss like the college. So in college, right, we'd all pile in a car and go to the grocery store together. The grocery store is a relatively boring task. Why not do it together? Like,
That's
I could
I
walk
love
up and
it.
down the
That's a
aisles at the
good
grocery
point.
store by myself, or I could take my bestie and we could both get it done. Coordinating schedules might be
Okay.
difficult, but like,
Yeah. That's always hard. I mean, the coordinating schedules, that's why sometimes it gets overwhelming of like, "Ugh, do I even really wanna, like, grow that circle?" Because I find it hard enough to get out on a bike ride with, like, this person who I always go on bike rides with, so, like, adding someone new into the mix, but that's exactly why you grow that circle, is so that there's more opportunities to go out. But this grocery store thing, I'm really in love with that idea because the grocery store that I frequent in, our town has a bar upstairs where I'm like, "Oh, what a good idea to just go, like, yap and shop and, like, yeah, have a little beverage if we want," or it's also across the street from the restaurant I work at, so there's that, but I
there's
never like, I mean, I run in there and I grab a couple things, but I'm like, I would actually love to go shopping with my friend, and we just cruise every aisle.
right. Like, it'll take longer, but who cares? Like,
Yeah, it makes it
the
fun, at least.
my biggest tip to like getting people's schedules together is literally, especially so the mom that has the twins also works full time. And we literally will put our next climbing time on the schedule before we leave the gym that time,
Uh,
even if it's a month and a half away. Because that sounds ridiculous. But like, just if you do that in person, then you're not worried about like, oh, they're not answering my texts. Oh,
mhm.
they're not answering my texts. Like, people get busy, whatever. Like, you just put it on a schedule and it's usually a month and a half out, but whatever, it's on the schedule. Like,
That's huge, and I think honestly, I just told someone the other day, I'm like, I kinda live and die by, like, my Google Calendar these days, but I love putting shit like that in the calendar because when I then go look at my week on a Monday, I'm like, "Alright, what's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I told Jill that we'd go for a bike ride on Thursday, whatever, and then I can also block it out because of what I do with podcasting, at least, in my open hours available, like, I can block that out so that all of a sudden on Tuesday, I'm not like, "Oh, Lauren booked Thursday, that time I was gonna go bike, now I have to tell Jill no because I'm gonna do that instead of tell you no because it was my fault I didn't block it out in the calendar in the first place." And there's so many times that I wanna send friends just like, "Here's a calendar invite because I have to put it
oh
on
my
here."
gosh,
And then
yes.
if you do it too, especially those that I know who also live by their calendar, like, it's there, you'll see it every day this week, so when that Thursday morning comes around, you can't or you're less likely like, "Oh, sorry, like, I'm canceling," and whatnot, and just, like, get it in your head that it is important, right, to
Yes,
do
it's
that, to
just
get
as
out, be
important.
with those
Yeah,
people, do the things that you enjoy. Yeah, exactly, because it's very easy. Because that was my next thing of, like, I even when I do put those in calendars, especially if I'm doing it just myself trying to schedule, like, I'm going for a big ride today because and I have to put it in the calendar to make myself stick to it. I don't when it's
yeah, right.
all on my own because it's so easy to say, I don't feel like it today for whatever reason, or I have to get this done or that done, or I wake up and I'm in that creative flow, so I have to use that energy. All sorts of reasons that I might not stick to it, but when you're sending it with someone else, I think it helps so much to have that accountability buddy to say like, "No, we said we're gonna do it," even though, again, it's one of those memes of like, "Oh, your friend canceled? What do you know? I'm already in my sweats, like, ready to Netflix and chill." Like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you have to cancel," but really you were like, "Oh, thank God I didn't have to cancel." Um, but I know there's a lot of people out there who aren't as into the digital calendar thing or don't wanna do that for fun or whatnot, but I'm telling you, if you use your calendar already as it is a lot, just
Just do it,
just start doing it, and also send me any invites, people, if you're out
right?
there, like, literally, don't even text me, just send me a calendar invite for a bike ride of like, "Hell yeah."
I'm
Like
in. This is the best
let's
email I got
just
all day, man. Like,
yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. I'd much rather see that pop in my inbox in the middle of a day instead of, yeah, coordinating through text of like, "Oh, when are you free?" Like, just pick a day and a time, and then I'll either accept it or I'm like, "Ooh, no, I can't then," but, like, let's go back and forth changing the day and time on Google Calendar.
hey, if it works, it works. Like,
Exactly. Well, Lauren, it's been really great chatting with you and just kinda hearing how you have pieced together, again, this life of adventure and freedom, but also obviously it's not completely free, but, just choosing your path and figuring out how to make it work and sharing with the audience that it is not a clear cut. It is not, I freelance right for these big outlets and that's it. That pays the bills, done and dusted. Like you're out there doing so many things and managing being a mom, and it doesn't have to fit into a neat little perfect box. But you do have to be willing to probably change gears and wear a few different hats and have different streams of income, which also I'm sure just helps in its own way when one thing is slow. You're like, well, I still have this stream over here that is in a different season or something. So, um, is
yeah,
there
that is definitely
anything
helpful.
yeah. Is there anything else you've been so great in giving some advice with, like, balancing it all, especially being a mom, but anything else you wanna leave the audience with about, advice for kind of figuring out how they might cobble things together or, again, like, work-life balance with being a parent, anything at all?
Yeah. Just like two of my big things that I've really been focusing on is make sure you take time for yourself, whether you're a parent or not. Like, we have a hustle culture, which is really good in some ways and really bad in other ways. And just like remember why you're doing what you're doing. Like, remember that we like, especially in the outdoor industry, like you're doing this because you love the outdoors. If you're getting to the point where you don't like doing your outdoor activity because it is work,
Mhm.
maybe it's time to take a step back from that. Like, I have to, like, at the climbing gym specifically, I have to very be like, I'm here because I'm working. I'm here because I'm not working. Like, that when you mix your fun and your work, you have to then get very specific about when you're doing each one.
Yeah, that's huge. Or, like, um, I don't know, it depending on what the job is, I guess, but trying to do that if it intersects with your fun, trying to do that fun somewhere else. Like for me in my personal training world, that was something I went through with my own workouts and yoga practice because going to the gym or the studio just felt like work. I felt like even if I was trying to go work out or just join a different class that I couldn't fully shut off because someone was asking a question, or you get stuck talking to a person who, just a regular at the studio or a gym, and you're talking, you're like, I have 1 hour to work out. Like, I really need to get this in. Or at the studio, like, oh, something's wrong. Someone can't check someone in, and suddenly you're working, restocking the fucking fridge.
Right.
And so it like I ended up I wouldn't go on my off time because I just wanted to be shut off, and that really, really, like, affected what I was doing personally, and I lost touch with that, thus lose energy for the other side too, and, yeah, it was an interesting battle that I'm still figuring out how to incorporate and not burn out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's something we all have to figure out in our own ways these days. It's so easy to do. Um, but before we get out of here, just let people know where they can find you and follow, whether that's just on social media, adventures, or if it is anyone out there who might be listening and need or want some of your services.
Yeah. So the ironic thing about being a social media manager is I don't take a lot of time to post on my own social media, um, because I'm on it so
Uh-huh.
much for other people that I'm like, I don't have time for this. And also, I want to look at screens less. Um,
Yeah,
but
that's your
you,
being at work, but
yes,
not enjoying
honestly,
your own. Yeah.
correct. So I do have an Instagram at Lauren Loria Creative. Do I update it very often? I do not. But the best place to contact me if you're looking for like marketing help or writing or even just want to chat if people are like, "Oh my gosh, how do you do this? This is what my life looks like." Happy. I love meeting people. I am an extrovert. I love humans. So they can get in touch with me at my website is www.laurenloria.com, and that's spelled LaurenLoria. And then literally my email is just Lauren@laurenloria.com. So keep it nice and simple.
Awesome. And you all know you can find that in the show notes. So go follow along, or if you've got any questions, wondering how Lauren has pieced certain things together, or like I said, happen to be looking for some help or services in those arenas, then go hit her up. Lauren, thanks so much for chatting, and we'll talk to the rest of you all next week.